What's going on, fellow nerds? This is Charles with Sounds Nerdy, and you're watching my review on the Samsung Galaxy S6 for T-Mobile. 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 Alright, so full disclaimer before we get started here. This is my personal phone. This is a phone that I'm going to be using for quite some time. And I wanted to let you guys know that I've been using it as my daily driver for about a week. So with all that said, there are three things that I find very, very important in a phone. Number one is the build quality. I like a phone to look good and feel good when I'm holding it. The software, I want a speedy experience, and battery life. It has to be able to hold a charge. Now, of course, being able to use the phone as a phone is important, but I tied that into the software portion just for sake of keeping it down to 3. So with all that said, let's get started. We're going to start with the build quality of the phone. This phone is absolutely amazing as far as build quality is concerned. I love holding this phone in my hand. It feels good to hold in your hand. It doesn't feel too slippery, so I'm confident when I'm holding it because I don't like putting cases on my phone. So the phone is made of 2 pieces of Gorilla Glass surrounded by a aluminum frame. And looking at the front of the phone, we have our capacitive touch buttons. So your multitask button and your back button. We have our home button as well that doubles as a fingerprint scanner. And the fingerprint scanner on here works really well. We have a 5 megapixel front facing camera that's wide angle. So for people who like selfies, this is a great camera. It takes great pictures. We have the earpiece, some light sensors, and a notification light. On the right side of the phone, you have your power button and your SIM card slot. On the left side of the phone, you have your volume up and down toggle. Now at the bottom of the phone, you're going to find your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, your micro USB charging port, microphone, and speaker. And then you also got the antenna at the bottom as well. The top of the phone has the IR blaster and noise canceling microphone, and then it also has 2 antenna slits at the top as well. On the back of the phone, you have your Samsung logos, a 16 megapixel shooter with image stabilization, and a heart rate monitor with the flash built into that. Now, I like the look of the back of the phone. It is a fingerprint magnet, as you can probably tell in this video, but I love the way the back of the phone looks. All in all, Samsung knocked it out of the park with this hardware. The only thing that I do not really like is the camera hump on the back, but then even that's not that bad. And the phone does collect fingerprints like nobody's business, but it's glass. There's only so much you can expect from the oleophobic coating that's on here. Thumbs up on the hardware. All right, so let's take a look at the software next. We'll go over the software, how fast it is, and all that good stuff, and also some tricks that I learned while using the phone. But before we dive into the software, let's talk about what's driving that software. The phone is equipped with a Samsung Exynos 7420 processor. Now that's a quad core processor, and that processor is backed by 3 gigabytes of RAM. The model that I'm using here is a 32 gigabyte, but it also comes in 64 and 128 variants. Now, the screen that's displaying the software is no slouch at all. This is a 1440 by 2560 pixel screen. That means that there's 577 pixels per inch on this screen. And this is the best looking screen that I have ever seen on a smartphone. And I do not say that lightly. I've seen the G3. This phone is the best. I've seen the Note 4. This phone is the best screen I've ever seen. And as we get into the software, this is where Samsung has struggled over the years. And the story has changed quite a bit, I will say. There's less bloatware. There's actually 40% less bloatware on this phone. So it is very, very fast, but it still has some of the Samsung stutter that we are used to. Not a deal breaker at all. This is one of the fastest phones I've ever used, but sometimes it just gets bogged down, as you can see. And one of the main reasons I say it's one of the fastest phones I've ever used is because when I'm playing games on here, and I play some very taxing games, like Grand Theft Auto, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto and I get a text message. So I tap on the text message and it switches apps. That transition is very, very smooth. And then I switch back to the game and it's a very, very smooth transition. And if you take a look at the gameplay here, like I said, Grand Theft Auto is a very taxing game and it's having no issues running this game with all the specs maxed out.
He tried to kill me! Ah! We should get bigger guns and more bullets.
Aside from the speed, I do love some of the Samsung features that they have incorporated. The fingerprint scanner just works this time around. There's no more swiping like on the Galaxy S5. It just works. You place your finger down and it unlocks your phone if you have it set up to do so. You can also have it set up to log into websites using Samsung's browser that's built in. You can't use Chrome, but hey, the browser that's built in actually works pretty well. Another thing that I like about this phone that Samsung built in is the multitasking is actually very well done here. It's very well done. It's the multitasking from the Note 4. So you could do things like pin an app at the top and the bottom of your screen. And from my usage of that, it doesn't slow down the phone much. This multitasking feature is good for if you like to watch YouTube videos while you're browsing your Facebook feed or Twitter feed. Now, the final things that I want to talk about is the battery and the camera. And we'll start with the camera first. I'm not a professional photographer, but this 16 megapixel camera takes some pretty damn good pictures. I mean, they're crisp. I will not have a problem posting any of these to my social networks, Instagram, Facebook, and that's all I typically use my cameras for. I don't print anything out, so the detail in the camera is beautiful, and I'll have some posted up in the review so you guys can take a look for yourself, but the detail is great in this camera. And the software you use to take the pictures is not bad at all. It's not too overwhelming. There are those options if you want to tweak your photo settings and go the manual route. The videos that I shot came out good, and I'll put an example of a video in the review as well so you can take a look for yourself. But for what I use my camera for, this 16 megapixel shooter and this 4K video shooter will work perfectly fine. And that's just the occasional video of my daughter or my boss being surprised here and there. And the last few things that I want to talk about are the phone quality, so how well it takes calls, and battery life. So battery life, I was constantly getting about 5.5 hours of screen on time, 5.5 hours to 6 hours of screen on time. So while it's not a champion in the battery department, it did good enough to last me throughout my workday. And as far as the phone quality, people did not have a problem hearing me when I called them or vice versa. And the earpiece on the phone is sort of low, but it's definitely not bad at all. It's just lower than I'm used to coming from the HTC M8. Overall, I am very, very satisfied with the direction that Samsung chose to take the Galaxy S series in this year. I would have no problem recommending this phone to anybody. It's a great phone, great hardware, great software, great features, just an overall great package. Well, that's gonna do it for this review, guys. Please hit that like button if you like this video, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. We do weekly podcasts, and we got one coming up that'll be up Monday or Tuesday. So stay tuned to that. We have a lot of fun discussing tech, games, whatever sounds nerdy. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.